What was it like when all of a sudden Blackpink comes out and it just becomes an immediate success? What was the transition like from being a trainee with all the time in the world to do your music to suddenly becoming an actual pop star?
I think that might have been the hard, maybe the hardest part for me. Because I think being a trainee, yes, settling into like this whole new world with people you don't know, that is challenging, but it was still off camera. And I got to make mistakes. But I feel like the transition of now having to be on camera and being an artist and presenting to the world who I am, that's something we just had to learn as we went. So I think the first few years was very difficult for me personally. But, a few years in, I started picking it up and learning. Yeah.
What was hard about it?
I think it's still hard, actually. And it kind of never stopped since then.
I mean, what I'm hearing is that you had to find out who you were in the glare of this very big spotlight. And, one of the things that is unique about K-pop is that the fan culture is so specific and so enormous. Can you tell me a little bit about that relationship? I mean, how authentic did you feel like you could be?
Mm-hmm.
How authentic did you want to be?
I mean, I felt like we were trained to always present ourselves in the most perfect way. And so even when we were interacting with them online, it was when I was ready to give perfect answers and give them what they wanted, and making sure that I'm a perfect girl for everyone. And so I think that was the culture. And then that's why leading into this album, it was a little bit of this more personal want and need to be able to write an album that I grew up, I had listened to music that I felt like I could relate to. But in order for that, I'm sure artists had to be vulnerable. But, we hadn't trained to talk about our emotions and feelings and experiences.
So it must have been scary.
Yeah.
To do this, because this is a very personal album. Let's talk about Rosie.
Mm-hmm.
When you had to sit down with yourself
mm-hmm.
and write this album, what was that like to have to dig deep?
To be honest, doing it was like breathing. All the stories in there are stories that, anyone around me has heard more than 20 times. It was about time I wrote it in a song. But it was I had moments where I was like, oh, wait, can we say this? Wait, maybe we shouldn't put that word in there. Maybe this is too much. Should we not? And then I think it was the process of me letting that go.
What's the fear, though, when you're saying, I don't want to put that in there?
I guess at first, I'm talking about very normal experiences that a normal girl in their 20s is going through. And so, like I said, there's a whole world and a whole life behind, screen, where I experience things that my fans hasn't really heard about or seen and talked about. And so, sometimes it does scare me. It's yeah, can I show this side of me? And am I allowed to talk about this? Yeah. It's not even crazy things, to be honest. It's very normal things. So it sounds like I'm gonna be talking about some crazy experiences. It's not really that crazy. It's just very normal things.
No, the themes are heartache, lost love, anger sometimes at
mm-hmm.
people. I mean, the range of human emotions.
Yeah, romance. But even that is it's scary for me. So that was, yeah, it was I could see the face. The songwriters, they were so interesting, Rosie. Why are you so nervous about this? And I'm you guys, you don't know.
Well, I mean, I've seen reporting that, K-pop agencies have strict rules when it comes to dating. And in part, maybe because they want fans to feel like idols are in a relationship with them. Is that part of the fear that it's not normal for stars to necessarily share that?
Well, yeah, it was not normal. It isn't normal, but also it's just not normal for me too. Like I had never really spoken about it because I feel like there's no need for me to ever confirm anything or talk about it. But I think that's why like this album means a lot to me because it's just like these things are just inspirations for my art. So I do want to make sure that that's like very well addressed. The fact that it's not about the story of who Rosie has been with or whatever. It's really more about the art, and it's scary. It's kind of unfair that I have to think about that part of it because really, again, it's just an element of inspiration.
I can hear you drawing a boundary, that your personal life is your personal life, which I totally respect. I was really struck by one particular song off the album, which is called Number One Girl.
Oh yes.
When I listened, it felt like it could be about a romantic relationship or about a relationship with fame and celebrity. One of the lyrics goes, "Tell me I'm that new thing. Tell me that I'm relevant." Can you talk to me a little bit about that song?
Yeah, that song was written after a terrible night of scrolling through the internet till like 6 a.m. and I barely got any sleep. I rocked up to the studio the next day very cranky. And they asked me, how have you been? And I was like, very bad. I'm so exhausted. I'm exhausted trying to please everyone. I'm always just trying my best to be my best version, but I felt a little lost and I felt like I was never good enough. And I was a bit against the world and just the universe. And I was like, I want to write a song that's just so disgustingly open and honest. Like, things that I hate myself for, like thinking. I said, like, all those thoughts that's written in those lyrics are thoughts that I don't want to admit that I actually think. Because I think I like to present myself as a very positive girl who's like, who doesn't think about negative things, who's very just bright-minded and whatnot. But I think that was honestly the day I was like, nope, I have these days.
What were you watching online? What were you seeing?
I was looking at that's like comments, like just searching topics that were not going to necessarily satisfy me, and I just like go down like rabbit holes of negative comments and just. And I don't think I knew. I didn't understand what I was searching for as well, but I was looking for validation, and I felt like wow, it was a lonely world that night in that on the internet on social media. It was a lonely world, and as I was writing the song, I felt there must be so many other girls who experienced this, and so I just want people to know that I'm no different.